Well, we know that the favor of God is his tangible evidence of his approval on our life. It's his tangible evidence that God approves of you and your actions and your conduct and what you're doing. Now, we don't want to confuse God's unearned favor of his grace when it comes to salvation. You don't have to earn salvation. You just receive and accept salvation. But when it comes to additional favor in our lives and what God is going to do to unlock certain doors in our life, we have to understand that that is something that is given to us via our faithfulness or our proven loyalty. Okay? Now, some different ways that we could term God's favor is this. We could call it preferential treatment. Right? Preferential treatment. We could also call it goodness bestowed based on our loyalty. I like this. It's also a supernatural advantage that you can't give yourself. How many people could use some supernatural advantage in your life that you can't produce on your own ability, your own skill, your own effort? But the reality is, God's favor in your life is there so that God will look attractive to other people. God wants to favor you and bless you. Why? So that other people will see his goodness in you and say, I want some of that. Right? Romans tells us it's the goodness of God that leads people to salvation. It's the good things that God is doing in your life, the healing, the breakthroughs, the blessings. Come on. And when you give God credit, other people look at that and say, I want some of that. But you know what? There's not a lot of people, I think, today, like there should be, expressing the favor and the goodness of God. That's right. In other words, there'd be more people saying, I want some of that. Why? Because, you know, to get God's favor in your life, it's going to take some work. And in reality, we don't like to hear about works in church anymore. We want to hear about free grace and grace, and I don't have to do this and I don't have to do that because none of that saves me. You're right. You didn't get saved by works. You didn't earn your salvation. But listen to me. The Bible tells us very clearly in Ephesians that you were saved to do good works. And I believe if the body of Christ would actually be doing the works of the Father, there would not be so much horror and hardship in this world. There would not be so much poverty and sickness in this world if God's body would rise up and do what they're supposed to do. Plain and simple. Now, Faithfulness unlocks the doors of favor in your life. Faithfulness to what, though? Faithfulness to doing the work. Do you know it takes work to operate a church? We just don't show up and go, what are we going to do today? Hey, Ben, why don't you just play that song? You understand? How are we going to do the lights? How are we going to adjust the temperature? How are we going to clean the bathrooms and make sure that you got a fresh commode? Right? Fresh spindle of toilet tissue hanging there for you. Come on, I don't mean to sound crass, but there's a reality of this, that we have to understand that this entire function of the organism here doesn't happen by accident. It is intentional and it takes work. Not people saying, I don't feel like it. It means that you're faithful unto good works. Now, I can give you a concept this way. There's a lot of doors in this church. There's a lot of doors, and a lot of those doors have locks on them. And a lot of these doors have locks that have different keys to them. And you see, to get access, to have a key, or some of the doors actually have just codes. You have to have a code. We just don't give keys and codes out to anyone. You see, we understand this stuff in the natural, and then we go to apply it to God, and we go, well, I don't understand that. You don't get a key or a code unless you're somebody that's a part of the body, that is proven, that has shown yourself loyal. And when you get proven loyalty and you have that tenure and there's something that we know that we can depend on in you, there's a level of trust. Guess what? You get a key or you get a code. Some of those keys and codes are not physical keys and codes. They're access to the platform. Well, I want to preach. I want to teach. I want a microphone. I want to sing. You have no idea what has been behind those that they have worked faithfully and proven themselves faithfully to get to that point. See, a lot of people, they want the key and the code, but they don't want the work that comes with it. Oh, it's easy to want something that's good, but you don't realize the weight of responsibility that comes with that goodness. Many of us, we want the favor of God. Why? We just want the key. We want it the easy way, and we don't want to do the work behind it to sustain His favor. Because I guarantee you, if you're not faithful with the access given to you around here, you will lose it. That's a biblical principle. And if you're faithful with the little, more will be given. If you're not, it gets taken away. That's a good principle. We use it with our kids. Right. Why do we do that? It's to instruct them and to help them grow in the understanding of responsibility, and that there's a real world out there and it hurts. Life's not fair. It's difficult. Well, we can put it this way. The level of favor in your life is dependent on the level of your relationship. The level of favor in this house is dependent on your level of relationship. You know, Jason and Lily, they're going through a tough time right now, but they're coming through it. But I want you to know their level of relationship and what they have poured into this house and how they've served so faithfully with us. They used to be on staff with us, working with us, and they're still working in the church and a part of. Lori and I, we will bleed for them. Yeah. Why? Because there's provenness. And when you do that, guess what? Favor comes in a way that you could never expect it. Grace comes in a way that you could never earn it. Why? Because the supernatural is there to do what you can't do on your own. And here's a reality check, and this is really the theme that I want you to walk away with today. Favor doesn't always look like favor. Favor doesn't always look like favor. We think favor looks like a big old fancy present. Oh, that's so good, and there's goodness in there, and I'm going to open it up, and oh, it's all good. Oh, buckle up. You know, we're in the Christmas season now. I'm going to talk a little bit about Mary, the one that carried Jesus, the mother of Jesus. Luke chapter 1, we pick it up at verse 28, says that the angel came and appeared to her and said, "Greetings, you who are highly favored, the Lord is with you." Greetings. Then he says, "Do not be afraid, Mary. You have found favor with God." Do not be afraid. You have found favor with God. Now, do you think this was just a statement to help her calm her nerves because the angel just appeared out of nowhere and go, "Hey, don't be afraid. You're favored with God"? You think it was just to calm her nerves because she got scared? Because, I do that to my wife all the time. I just come home and she goes, "Ah!" I walk into the bedroom. She goes, "Whoa, don't do that to me." I'm like, I don't know how not to do that to you. I mean, how do I'm coming in the house, heavier footsteps. I don't know. What we don't realize is when the word of the Lord comes to you, the word of the Lord is not just for a moment of time, but the word of the Lord is there to sustain you through all time. In other words, hey, Mary, you're highly favored. Buckle up. Come on. Oh, you are highly favored above all other women. You have been chosen to carry Jesus. And there's a lot of people, "Oh, that would be awesome." You have no idea what awesome means here. You have no idea what she was signing up for. You have no idea the hardships and the endurance that she would have to maintain in order to be faithful with what God called her to do. Do not be afraid. You have found favor with God. What does that mean? It means when you're going through difficult times, don't get scared. Don't get in doubt. Hold on. God is with you. All right, let's put it this way. Noah, we could see him in Genesis 6:8, said that Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. Yeah. Wow, Noah, you're the man. Matter of fact, you're the only man. You build a boat all by yourself. You preached 120 years and nobody got saved. How many pastors would resign after 10 years? Right? No offerings coming in. Nobody coming to church. I think I would have quit like 10 years in at least. I would have given it 10 years, not 120. Well, you're highly favored of God. What does it mean? Buckle up. Because God is going to equip you to do something you can't do on your own. Fear not. Fear not, you have found favor with God. You know, when it comes to favor, we need to step back and look at the big picture, because a lot of times when you're looking at the micro side of things and here it is right in your face, you can't step back and see the big picture. And let's face it, we're control freaks in America, right? We always want to be the one driving. Anyone? Right? Give me the wheel. Poor Doug. We were going down to the dunes one year, and he's like, Pastor, I got to go to the bathroom. Okay. Pastor, I got to go. Okay. Poor guy. 2 hours later, because I was going to lose all those cars I passed. I was going to lose by pulling. I pull off, and I pass that semi. I got to pass them again. Hurry up. Go. We are control freaks, and we need to step back and chill out a little bit and enjoy the ride. Amen. Why? Because we're people of faith. We walk by faith, not by sight. You can't be faithful without faith. And you know what? A lot of Christians don't want to live by faith. They want to walk by faith. They want to walk by sight. They want to look at doors and, oh, this door's open and it's easy. This must be God. Stop it right there, because usually if God's calling you to do something, it's not going to be easy. Right? All you're doing is looking at circumstances, and you're looking at how easy things are, and you think that, well, if it's easy, it must be God, and if it's difficult, it must be of the devil. If there's resistance, it must be the devil. Not always. Either way. But I'll tell you what the devil is trying to do. He's trying to keep you from unlocking the doors of favor in your life. He's trying to keep you away. And why? Galatians 6:9 says, and let us not grow weary in well-doing, because if we don't faint, we will reap in due season. Amen. If we don't give up. How many people have had the key in the door, turned it, and was ready to push, and they give up? How many people have I seen in this church that I'm ready to promote, and there's one more little test, one more little thing, and we give it to them, and they blow up, and they can't handle it, and they missed out on their promotion. They missed out on their opportunity of favor, and they chose failure instead. Psalms 126:5 says, those who sow in tears shall reap with joyful shouting. Man, I tell you what, I've been here 26 years, and I've had some tears in my life. We've had some tears in our life. And a lot of people walk in and go, oh, yeah. No, you don't see the water under the bridge. A lot of that water's tears. But you know what? If you just stay faithful, just stay, don't quit, don't give up, don't stop, don't give up on your marriage, don't give up on your work, don't give up, don't quit. God never called you to be a quitter. You know, there's another verse that talks about how you cast your bread on the water. Cast your bread on the water. Well, what that means is when the Israelites were traveling alongside the river, they would take their seed and they would throw it into the river. And the river would carry it downstream, and as the river would go down, then the seed would be planted along the fertile soil of that river. So that way, they always had a harvest as they continued to cast their bread and journey down the river. There was always something to reap because they sowed. If you will stay faithful, God will provide for you. Why? Well, there's three things that I want to pull out in Mary's experience of carrying Jesus. The donkeys, the dung heaps, and the death threats. Now, I've never been pregnant, don't plan to be pregnant. I'm not going there. But the reality case is donkeys and pregnancy don't go hand in hand. How many ladies could testify to that? Right? Megan Fisher, she's here. Her due date was yesterday, right? She's not going donkey riding today. You understand what I'm saying? Even long car trips are out of the question. Why? Well, you know what? Donkeys. Guess what? Sometimes life is rough. Sometimes you got to get from point A to point B, but it's just so jarring and it's so uncomfortable. And so many times she could have gave up and said, Joseph, I'm not going another foot. I am not riding that donkey again. I am pregnant. And he's like, oh, you are? Every husband knows when their wife is pregnant. Sometimes life is rough. Just because it's rough doesn't mean you quit. Doesn't mean you give up. You hold on. You stay in the fight. You don't quit. Why? Because you need to make sure you got people around you. Sometimes we get tired. Well, what does that mean? Man, there's some dung heaps. Mary, they had to go to Bethlehem for the census, and of course it wasn't at a good time. That's why she had to ride the donkey. She got to Bethlehem. She's going to have the baby. She goes to Good Sam Hospital, and there's no room. She goes to St. Joe, TG. There's no place. Where does she get to go? To a stable, laying in the dung heaps. You know what, little girls, what do you want for Christmas? I want a pony. The reason you want a pony is because you have no idea what the pony does with the food you feed it. Right? Really, you want a unicorn. They don't exist. Amen? There's my unicorn brother up there. That's our unicorn sign. Hey, bro. I'm kidding. But the reality is, horses make messes. You can have horses, but if you're not rich enough, you're going to have to muck the stalls. You're going to have to clean that stuff out. We used to raise chickens. We weren't that rich. We had chickens, not horses, okay? That's how we fed each other because we were pastors and you're poor pastors. So mom and dad raised chickens. Who took care of the chickens? Dennis. You cannot house train a chicken. They just go wherever gravity says to go. And it is difficult to muck out the chicken coop. You get in there and that sawdust turns to concrete and ammonia. Your eyes are watering. You're like, ugh. Sometimes life stinks. There's nothing you can do about it. You just stick it out, you gut it out, and guess what? Eventually you'll get it clean. But don't you stop. Then there's the death threats. Well, they had to flee to Egypt because, why? They were going to be killed. The king in that area wanted him dead. So what happened? Now they got to go to Egypt. Got a new little baby. Joseph has to relocate. And when you're in business for yourself, that's pretty hard. But you know what? I love the simple fact that God is able to take care of the times when your dreams feel like they're going to be snuffed out. Sometimes you've got dreams and you've got hopes and it just feels like the devil comes and boom. I mean, I'm favored of God. Why should I have to run to Egypt? I'm blessed. I'm favored. You just be obedient. And when you're obedient, God's going to take care of you. Why? Well, how do we treat this? Well, you found favor. His favor is for a lifetime. God has a way of dispatching his favor in advance of your trouble to meet you in the time of need. What does that mean? God dispatched the Magi months before they had to go to Egypt. Months. And we know that the Magi arrived and they came with gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And we know that the gold sustained them through the time that they had to run and flee to Egypt. God's favor was put in advance on dispatch to go and meet them at the point of time of need. You may be in need today, but you have no idea because you've been faithful. You've been casting your bread on the water. Guess what? In the time of need, it's going to meet you where you're at if you're faithful. Psalm 30 verse 5 says his favor is for a lifetime. It's for a lifetime. God's not going to leave you. Don't fear. Don't fear. Fear is what keeps you from unlocking the door. You're in pain. Don't fear. Don't quit. You know, it's interesting. They've done many scientific studies one of the books I'm reading, and talking about runners that run long distances and how those that win, those that achieve the greatness, those that win in the Olympics, it's not that they don't have pain like everybody else. They just know how to address the pain when it arises. You see, when pain comes to a novice, you start to worry. Your heartbeat raises. More stress goes into the body, and then things start to shut down. But if you understand how to address that pain and know that God's healing power is there to sustain you and bring you through it, that's right, you're able to carry on and not quit. Yeah. Fear. We call it the wall when you run. The wall. How many walls have you looked at? Guess what? There's a door in that wall, and there is favor waiting for you to open that door and walk through it. But if you're not willing to be faithful with it, you'll never get through. Life's not easy. There's the donkeys, the dung heaps, and the death threats. Bible says many are the afflictions of the righteous. There are many challenges that you're going to face, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. Jason, you didn't plan on getting in a car wreck on the way home. You didn't, not at all. You didn't plan on your wife being in the hospital today. No, you didn't. But the Lord delivers you out of them all. I was up at Tiger Summit, and I had no plans to go falling 100 feet, getting pulled off the mountain over 1,000 feet, hanging by one hand. I had no plan. That wasn't even on my itinerary. I did not plan on spending 9 days in Traction in Harborview. I had no plans. You know what? You cannot plan some of the stuff that takes place in your life. But what you can do is you can pray through it, and you can walk through it, and you can faith through it. Why? Because greater is He that is in you than he that is in the world. Don't you quit. Don't you quit. Don't you stop, and don't you give up. Because you're favored of God.